Last week we did half of a vase mold. This week we're going to do half of a teacup mold. And yep, we're going to do the saucer too.
Picked up this coffee cup mold and saucer on Amazon, and right here I'm just cutting some plastic to cover half of each of them so that the resin does not run out. The link for this mold will be in the description directly under the video. Now on the very front of this coffee cup mold is a little heart, and I do not want to make the half that I'm going to make with the heart on it. So in a second I'm going to show it to you. Right there, there's a little heart impression, so I'm going to put the plastic on the other side and use the other half of the coffee cup. So before I attach the plastic and pour the resin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some flowers in the very front of the cup. So I'm going to use some UV resin and put it down in the very front of the cup, and then I'm going to take the flowers and try to place them on there. And this is a little bit tedious because it's a small area to get into, but you need to put enough UV resin so that the flowers set right on top of it. And because you don't want to be able to feel the flowers from the outside, there has to be a UV resin barrier. And this was kind of a pain. I think I took part of the piece of the flowers off, and I'm kind of off camera doing it, but I do manage to get the one large pink flower and two small purple flowers in there. So here you go, there it is, and I've not cured it yet. So then you have to put it on top of the UV light to cure it for a few minutes. Actually, probably for a full 3 minutes you need to do that. And I just have it propped up there so that I don't have to hold it. And then when that's done and I'm ready to make the cup, the half a cup, I take my UV resin and I put it around the half of the perimeter that I'm going to be using on the very top. And then I take my piece of plastic and I set it on top of it. Now, because this piece of plastic was on a roll, it's kind of rounded so it doesn't sit flat. So you really have to, can you see how it's curling up? You have to hold it down for probably about 30 seconds for it to adhere, and then you can let go. And then, I don't know how well you can see this, but now along the edge where it's held down, I'm putting another layer of UV resin to hold it securely in place. And then I'm going to put the UV light on it one more time. So that was the cup, and now I'm doing this saucer, the little plate. So again, I'm taking the UV resin and going around the top edge of it with the UV resin, and I'm taking the piece of plastic and setting it on top of it. And again, remember it's kind of rounded, so you have to hold it down for about 30 seconds until it starts to cure, and then you can let go of it and leave it under there for a few minutes. And then again, after that's cured, you take the UV resin again and go around the edge right where the plastic is adhered to the saucer. And this is just an extra precaution against resin leaks. And then again, put it under the UV light. This part is probably hard to see because I've got the UV light on, but I just take some resin and I mix some white glitter in it and I pour it into the half of the coffee cup. And I am making a mess, but I just take that resin and I push it back in. And then you have to be able to balance it sideways. So I end up setting it in a cup, and that seems to hold it well. And then I'm taking the rest of the resin, the epoxy 2-part resin that's mixed with the glitter, and pouring that into the saucer. And again, I'm making a mess, but believe it or not, this works. And I just set that right next to the coffee cup. And I let this cure up overnight. Kind of hard here to see where the line is, but on this other part you can kind of see how the line is, how far it's filled up with the resin. And honestly, this works really good. So it's just up as high as the handle on the teacup. And then the next day I demold it. And I just take the piece of plastic off of it that's held on with the UV resin, and comes off real easy, and I demold it just like you would demold any of your other molds that you make. And there is some like resin pieces that have to be taken off the back, and I believe I use the deburring tool even though I don't show it. See how there's some thin pieces of resin? There you go. See, and I just pull that off and you have half a coffee cup. Isn't that cute? And then that has something in it, and I think I go get the deburring tool to clean the handle out. And then this is the half of the saucer. I wasn't sure whether I was going to use the saucer in the artwork or not, but I do end up using it. And then there's just a little bit of stuff to take off, and you can clean that off. You could sand it down a little bit, use the deburring tool, and here I'm using a little razor knife to get that out of the handle there because I want the handle to be open. So next I get out a 4x4 canvas, and this canvas is super loose. I usually don't spray my canvases because they're pretty tight, but this is pretty loose. So I use some water and I spray the inside of it, and then I use my heat gun to dry it. It really tightened it right up. It worked really well to tighten the canvas. The reason you want the canvas nice and tight instead of being loose is because when you put glass in the center, it can make it sink in the center, and then the resin can pull away from the edges. But honestly, with a good coating resin, it still will cover the edges pretty well, even if your canvas sinks a tiny bit in the middle. Next, I flip the canvas over and take painter's tape and put it around the perimeter of the back of the frame. And what this will do is after you pour resin on the other side, it will catch all the drips that come down, and then the next morning when you pull the tape off, the drips will come off with it. And then I just painted the canvas with some acrylic paint. So for this project, I'm going to be using a very small diameter vase because I want to use very small flowers and I want them curved or rounded. And I really like the texture on this vase, and I'm just nipping off the very top of it. I'm probably not going to be using that part, but you certainly can use it. And I'm just going through this just for 1 minute, very slow for those of you who don't know how to nip glass. So these are the C-Bell nippers. It's a very controlled nip. They're easier on your hands if you have arthritis. You do still need to wear safety glasses, even though it doesn't, the glass doesn't fly as much. The blue rubber ring actually holds on to the piece of glass until you let go of it. But you will see some small shards fly off of it, and that's why you have to wear safety glasses with it still. And you should do it down in a deep box. I have this held up so that you guys can see. So I just continue to nip around the perimeter of the vase until the entire vase is gone. And it's really super easy to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the rest of it until the entire vase is gone. And then you can just save your pieces. Alright, so that's what I want it to look like. I'm going to use the smaller ones, not the larger ones, but I'll save the larger ones for another time. And then I just take them all and I throw them in my tumbler. And although I don't show it, what I do next is I put a squirt of Dawn dish soap in it, just a tiny squirt, cover it with water, and then tumble it for 1 hour. And the reason I'm tumbling it is to get the sharp edges off. That way you can't cut yourself if someone's to touch your art project or to give it as a gift. They can't cut themselves on it. As far as the Dawn dish soap goes, that is only to clean the glass. It does nothing to get the sharp edges off. You can use any kind of soap you want, but just a little dot, or it may create so many bubbles the top could blow off. Next, I take my glass out to the garage after it's been tumbled, and I take TAMIYA translucent purple spray paint and spray the glass. It's a beautiful purple. The TAMIYA, if completely dry, will not run and will not fade. It's color fast. And then I just start setting up my project. And Honestly, I just am using the pieces of glass and fitting them together so they look like a little flower. They look more like a rose, I think, and I love the texture in it. And the green glass that you see sitting up there in the bag is glass that I've also nipped off of a vase and tumbled, and I'm going to use that for the leaves for these flowers. And sometimes this can get a little tedious. I usually start from the outside of the flower and work my way in. I know a lot of people do just the opposite. They start with the inside and work their way out, but you can do it whatever way is, best for you. And then I actually get some crushed glass. So this is Michael's decorative filler, Ashland crushed glass that you get up at Michael's. It comes in a 1 pound container for a little over $3, or $3 or $4, and you can a lot of times get it on sale for maybe $2.50. And I also sprayed that with the TAMIYA translucent purple spray paint, and then I just sprinkled that in the middle to kind of fill in the little flowers. And then I just start putting the green leaves on where I think they might look good. And again, for some more filler, I use some more Ashland decorative filler that's been colored with I think this one was colored with the grass green Bombay India ink. And what I like about the Ashland decorative filler, if you use the translucence, you can still see the silver reflective qualities that it has, and it really sparkles pretty. Next, it's ready for the resin. The resin I'm using for this project is the Craftor tabletop epoxy. It's a nice coating resin and less expensive than some of the other coating resins. So I mix up my resin, and I always drizzle it over the glass first to make sure that's all adhered. And I do not put the resin on the coffee cup, but around it and maybe under it, just to make sure it's adhered to the canvas. And then I just get it all around the edges, and I do like the resin to cover the edges of the canvas. Some people just push the resin up to the edge and not along the sides, but I kind of drizzle it over the side and then spread it out with my fingers or my gloved hands so that the entire side is covered. And then you can see it's up. It's not sitting directly on the silicone mat, but it is up on a couple of cups. You don't want, if you have protective paper under it, it would stick to it if you don't have cups. And if you put it directly on a silicone mat, then the resin would pool around it and you'd have to cut it away. So you don't want that either. So anyway, I put a couple butterflies on it, and when I'm done with the project, I always come back every 15 minutes to check for glass placement, to check for bubbles, retorch if I need to. You can use a heat gun to get rid of bubbles. You can use isopropyl alcohol to get rid of bubbles. You can use a little kitchen torch to get rid of bubbles. And I also check for sediment. I use a toothpick to get that out. And this particular resin cures best at temperatures between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It has about a 40-minute work time and works really nice as a coating or doming resin. It's in your best interest to read the directions for the resin that you are using because all resins are different, and it's in your best interest to cover it with a dust cover.
Hey everyone. So I love the way this turned out. If you didn't see my video last week, I did this half a mold with a vase also. And what I really like is the flowers in the front there. So I could think of a bunch of other things that you could put like in the front of a vase or any other mold that you might be doing. And I also could think of a bunch of other molds that we could just use half of to put on glass and resin art, because when you use the whole thing, it just sticks out too much. So the flowers on that are super easy to use. That TAMIYA spray paint is so pretty. I think I kind of put it dark on that, but it still looks pretty. So the mold I used was this teacup mold, and I will have the link in the description if you want to check it out. I got it on Amazon. And also the vases that I used last week are in the link also. So Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I have over 300 videos of glass, all different glass and resin art. Check it out. Hit the bell, and then you'll be notified whenever a new video comes out. I try to put out a new video every week. We have the Facebook page going, an amazing group over there. No questions too silly. You could learn so much. Everybody is super helpful. Come check us out there, and I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks for watching.